So welcome. This is the 2026 Project Support Grantee Workshop. This workshop is for those who are receiving a CAC Project Support grant this year. And we will get started. Thank you for joining us today. I'm going to move into our land acknowledgement. So before we begin, we want to acknowledge that the land that we stand on and the place that we call Cuyahoga County is land that was claimed by the United States government through force, displacement, and treaties negotiated in bad faith. We acknowledge those of the Shawnee, Miami, Erie, Ottawa, Potawatomi, and Haudenosaunee Confederacy whose lands we stand on, and the thousands of Native Americans representing over 100 tribes who currently live in Northeast Ohio today. Thank you to Lake Erie Native American Council for providing us the information to develop this acknowledgement. And we also want to take a moment to lift up CAC's value of equity. We lead with racial equity in our work because the creation and perpetuation of racial inequalities is embedded into government and grant making. We confront the white supremacy that resides in our work because racial inequities across all indicators of success are deep and pervasive. We also recognize the power and potential that organizations who produce arts and cultural programming have as bearers of culture. These institutions have the power to write the narrative about who belongs and who is valued. We encourage arts organizations to connect with resources to advance equity in your own work, and you can visit cacgrants.org/equity or contact our team to learn more. Okay, so CAC has a board of 5 individuals appointed by the county executive and a staff of 7, as you can see on this slide. This slide introduces the grant-making team, and in particular, I'll introduce myself, Eric, and Devon, the grant managers. We each have a portfolio of about 100 organizations that we work with through the grant cycle. One of us is your grant manager, and if you're not sure who your grant manager is, we have a PDF that lists it out, and we can share that with you at the end of the presentation. Your grant manager is here to help, so we can help you find materials you need. That might be old applications or reports, offer guidance around completing requirements, and we will surely be sending you reminders throughout the year and can also help make connections between organizations. Also joining us on this call is Laura, our communications manager, and Jake Sinatra, our director of grant making strategy and communications. Throughout this presentation, we make references to materials and resources, which we will include a list of those links in our follow-up email, which will also include this PowerPoint presentation and recording. And so now I will turn it over to Devon.
Thanks, Maya, and hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. For today's workshop, we'll get started with grantee introductions, and that'll be followed by sharing who CAC is and what we do. We'll talk about your 2026 CAC Project Support Grant and requirements for all grantees. And of course, we'll leave space at the end of today's workshop for questions. I also want to note that today's presentation is being recorded and will be shared. We'll be sharing the presentation and recording with you in the follow-up email after this, which will include all of the resources that we share with you today. So we've held some time for some introductions from you all. There are about, I don't know, I'm going to assume more than 50 people here today, which is great, outstanding, great start to the year. So not everyone needs to introduce themselves, but it would be great to hear from a few of you, 5 to 10, so that we can learn about who's receiving the CAC grants this year. Please feel free to come off of mute. You can introduce yourself, your organization, and the CAC-funded project that you're doing this year. You can also introduce yourself in the chat as well as an alternative. Would anyone like to get us started? Go ahead.
Yes, my name is Terrence Spivey. I'm the founder of Powerful Long Ladder, and we're in collaboration with Renzo Carbonera in Italy. We're putting up August Wilson's Jitney in an Italian version here in Cleveland in May. I just want to thank you all for embracing us financially. This is a new thing for us, Powerful Long Ladder.
Wonderful, thank you. I assume you are a new grantee, so welcome,
Yes.
And we're excited to see what you do this year.
Thank you.
So,
Go ahead, Daryl.
am I muted?
Nope, you're good.
Okay. So I'm Darrell Schaff with the Darrell Center for the Arts. This is my second year with you guys for the same project. We will again in March be producing our wearable art runway show where we're bringing in about nine international designers who will bring their work to Cleveland. It'll be really quite remarkable. Last year we sold out two shows. We're doing three shows this year. We're already selling tickets. It's very exciting. And on a side note, because the center has a number of exhibits, we just received about $100,000 um, uh, donation of Alaska Native art, which we will be putting into our Alaska section. So we're pretty excited about that. We're working on that right now. And thanks to you
So
guys because this is our second year of doing this very successful event. Thanks.
thank you for all that you do for the community, and we're super excited to see what you do this year.
Good afternoon. I am Tarisha Phillips. I'm Secretary for the North Coast Chapter, Tuskegee Airmen Incorporated. And this is our first time receiving an amazing award from CAC to support our first ever Campaign Heroes project. It is for our phase two. The first phase is already completed. It is at Cleveland Hopkins International Airport. In the baggage claim, if you've ever come in that area, you'll see a large scale mural, very beautiful, colorful, high res mural of the local Tuskegee Airmen from Northeast Ohio and their support personnel. And it's just telling a story about what our nation's first Black fighter pilots of World War II had done to help us win the war abroad and against racism here at home. So we are so happy. This is our second grant award for this endeavor. So we are so glad that we are adding a permanent exhibit to Cuyahoga County's arts and culture space. Thank you all.
And welcome to CAC.
Hello, I
Anyone?
guess, could I go ahead and speak?
Yes, you can.
So my name is
Absolutely.
Ted Silsky. I am the Community Education and Activities Coordinator for Linking Employment Abilities and Potential. We are a Center for Independent Living, helping people with disabilities, a wide range of services. This is our first grant, and we're using it to host art classes and then have a talent show and art show in June at the Beck Center in Lakewood. We're working in conjunction with them for that. So we're very excited. We have a lot of people who are already very excited to be on stage, to perform, to make their art through our classes that we offer and have it shown there. So we're very excited to be involved and appreciate the help that you're giving us.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ted. It's wonderful to hear all these collaborations going on within the community.
Well, I'll go next. Good afternoon. My name is Dulce Sanchez, and I am proud to serve as the Vice President of the Dominican Club of Cleveland. This is our first year receiving a grant, and we are thrilled to be celebrating our fourth Dominican Cultural Festival in the city of Cleveland. For the past 3 years, we brought thousands of people together, and this year we're looking forward to a bigger celebration. So thank you, and thank you for your support and just for being there for us and helping us out.
Thank you so much. We're so happy to see what you guys are doing this year. I think I have time for maybe two more folks, and then we'll continue with the presentation.
I can jump in here if you'd like.
Of course.
Thank you. I'm Diesel. I'm with No Surf House. This is our first grant as well, and we're really excited about it. And we are planning No Surf Fest. We are a group that works with musicians and provides temporary lodging for them when they come in to play here in the Cleveland area. And so we wanted to also provide an opportunity for musicians to play for free for the community. So that's what we'll be doing. And we're going to be having a wonderful community festival thanks to CAC.
Great, wonderful. Thank you, Jason.
Hello.
Hello.
This is Anna Arnold, and I'm the director of the Florence O'Donnell Wasmer Gallery at Ursuline College in Pepper Pike. And our project this year is the 5th annual Juneteenth celebration. and it will be held on our campus, and it's live entertainment, it's soul food, it's children's games, and a children's art corner. And our theme this year for our exhibit and for the celebration is Hope Lives Here. And it will feature 10 Northeast Ohio artists. So that's what we have. And thank you. We are so grateful for your support.
Oh, we're thankful for what you've been doing for the community, and hope does live here.
Thank you.
Great start to 2026. Um, it's always interesting to hear all the types of places of arts and cultural programming that's taking across place here in Cuyahoga County. Seeing new faces, seeing returning faces are always a great thing. And again, hearing these collaborations throughout the community just shows how strong we are in this field, and I love that for us. So again, thank you for sharing about your organizations, but now I'll share a bit about Cuyahoga Arts and Culture. CAC is the public funder for arts and culture in Cuyahoga County. It has invested more than $270 million in more than 500 organizations since 2006. Cuyahoga County residents created Cuyahoga Arts and Culture in 2006 when they approved a tax on cigarettes to support arts and culture in our community. This levy was expanded in 2024 and now runs through 2035. In 2026, CAC is investing almost $12.9 million through grants to more than 300 organizations who bring art and culture to the life in our community. Our mission is to inspire and strengthen the community by investing in arts and culture. And to do that, we make grants to 501c3 arts and culture organizations and projects in Cuyahoga County. And with that, I'll go ahead and hand this over to Eric to introduce you to the Project Support Grant Program. Thank you.
Thanks, Devon. The purpose of CAC's Project Support Grant is to promote public access and encourage the breadth of arts and culture programming in our community by supporting Cuyahoga County-based projects. We do have a particular definition for what an eligible project is. First, a project is a connected set of activities with a beginning and end sometime between January 1st and December 31st, 2026, taking place within Cuyahoga County. Also, projects have a predetermined budget that does not equal the organization's total annual budget. Projects may be one-time events, such as festivals or exhibits, or a connected series of events, such as a sequence of classes or a series of productions. Projects must be arts or cultural activities. CAC's definition of arts and culture comes from the Ohio Revised Code and is defined as including, but not limited to, literature, theater, music, dance, ballet, painting, sculpture, photography, motion pictures, architecture, archaeology, history, natural history, or natural sciences. Projects must have a public programming component. And this is a really important one to note for the CAC project support grants. So for example, if you're approved for a grant to support your mural project that includes a public event and you have to cancel the public event for whatever reason, your project will no longer be eligible for funding, unfortunately. Public programming does not mean that the event must be free. Lots of public programs charge ticketing fees. The key is that there is a publicly advertised event that residents can engage with. So the materials you submitted in your application are what were approved by our board of directors based on these requirements. So if you execute your plan as defined in the application, you'll be in good shape. That said, there are a few organizations who had minor issues. For example, project dates that extended the full year, or budgets maybe that didn't add up. And those projects were pushed through the cycle and reviewed. And your grant manager will be getting in touch with you soon if there are issues like that to clear up. So we'll make room for questions at the end of the whole presentation, but we do want to pause here briefly to see if there are any questions about this particular slide. Okay, it seems like we're good. So again, we will have time for questions at the end, so don't worry if you do have a question. So this slide shows some details about funding restrictions. So a few common project expenses that CAC grant funds cannot be used for are receptions, international travel, and activities that occur outside of Cuyahoga County. Conversely, there are many common project expenses that are eligible to be covered by your CAC grant, and they include administrative costs and logistics, so things like permits, rentals, staff management, time, etc., or expenses that support the production or implementation of the arts and cultural content. So as an example, you may need a permit to produce your event. So that would be an eligible expense. That's okay. You can definitely do that. But something like a bounce house is not an arts and culture component, and you don't require the bounce house in order to help make the arts and cultural content happen. So that would not be an eligible expense for CAC to cover. For our budgets, we do aim to be pretty expansive, and we allow indirect costs to be included in your budget. A complete list of funding restrictions can be found on page 17 of the 2026 Project Support Guidelines, which we'll share again. And when you have time, please take a look at those as you're budgeting for your project, and reach out to your grant manager if you have any questions or concerns about your budget. So now I'll turn it over to Laura for her to review the CAC crediting requirements.
Thanks, Eric. All CAC grantees are required to acknowledge CAC funding in their publicly funded arts and culture project. By sharing with audiences that your project was funded by the residents of Cuyahoga County through CAC, you're showing what public funding for the arts can do in real time. Your publicity for your grant is an important advocacy tool to help champion public funding. You can do this in many ways, in your programs or website, via pre-show announcement, in your marketing emails, or even on venue or exhibit signage. Our communications toolkit can be found on our website and is linked at the end of this presentation, which will be shared with you tomorrow. In this toolkit, you can find CAC's logo, our suite of ads and social media graphics, and a number of other tools to help fulfill this requirement. All grant recipients are also required to post your public programming events on clevelandartsevents.com. A public programming component is required to receive grant funding in project support. Posting to clevelandartsevents.com is your public notice to CAC that your event is happening and has the added benefit of reaching the residents of Cuyahoga County. This site is a managed events calendar of arts and culture events happening in the greater Cleveland area. It's visited by thousands of Cuyahoga County residents each month and is a great opportunity to reach a wider audience. By posting your events on this community calendar, you are not only meeting the terms of your grant agreement, but you are demonstrating public benefit and connecting with county residents. All CAC grantees have had an organization page created for them, but feel free to reach out to me if you need any help with your account. Your project must be posted to the calendar at least 30 days in advance. CAC also pulls from this calendar for our bi-monthly e-news, social posts, and media partnerships, so that's an extra benefit of using this resource as well. More information on how to meet these two requirements can be found in the communications toolkit linked in this PowerPoint, and now I will hand it back to Maya to review final reports.
Thank you, Laura. Okay, so we are going to review final reports, which is a requirement to receive your grant payment. I'm going to start with advance payments. CAC grants are reimbursement grants, so funds are not automatically distributed at the start of the project. They are sent after the final report is submitted and approved. That said, grantees are able to request up to 60% of their grant as an advance payment within 30 days of the project's start date. Advance payment requests must be submitted online through the online application and reporting portal. And grantees must have matching funds for the portion being requested and must have their event post it to clevelandartsevents.com, as Laura mentioned, before requesting your advance payment. Okay, so you must already know the dates and have that information solidified and posted before you submit this advance payment request. If your project is starting soon or has already started, we are going to open the advance payment request form tomorrow, and so you can start submitting those then. It takes about 2 weeks to process and receive payment. Okay, so your final reports will also, final reports are available for review. They're posted on the website with the instruction documents, and that will also be shared via a link in this PowerPoint presentation, which will go out tomorrow. We suggest organizations look at this report ahead of your project so you can know what information to collect and record throughout the project. So for example, the location report, keeping track of where your programming is taking place in the county is very helpful to do while it's occurring. You should also keep track of your budget. You will submit a copy of your final project budget where you'll show what actually was spent. And we will discuss this in more detail on the next slide. The final report is due no later than 30 days after your submitted project end date. And your report and all support materials must be completed and submitted online. All PS grantees have the option of participating in our virtual report out in lieu of a full written report. Grantees who select this option will complete an abbreviated final report, which we label a report out form, and attend a report out session where you, along with other project support grantees, will share about how your project went in a small group setting. Upon review and approval of the final report, the remaining grant funds will be released. So if you did an advance payment, we'll release the remaining funds. And if you did not do an advance payment, your entire grant will be released after that final report is submitted and reviewed. Plan ahead to meet the reporting requirements by tracking information for your project. Your final report will ask for the following information. I already mentioned the location of projects and activities, and that includes the street address. If it's a virtual program, please list the address of your organization's address. The number of artists, volunteers, and audience members, adults and children engaged. Documentation of the activities funded, such as publicity materials, photographs, and or videos. And then a sample of how you credited Cuyahoga Arts and Culture. Those are the materials that you will be submitting. So having that in mind ahead of time, it can be very helpful. So matching funds. Project support grants are matching grants. This program requires a one-to-one match of additional income from other sources. Sources of your matching funds can include, but are not limited to, foundation or government grants, private donations, ticket sales, member dues, anything of that nature. And the matching funds may not include other funds from CAC. So for example, CAC co-funded grants from Neighborhood Connections. Up to half of the match can be in-kind support. Your project expenses must be at least double the amount of your CAC grant. So if you have a grant that is for $4,000, then your expenses must equal at least $8,000. And then up to $2,000 of that match could be in kind. I'll pause here to see if there are any questions about matching funds. Okay.
Just a quick question about matching funds. Can you remind us how volunteer hours can be factored into in kind?
Yeah, and we have a link that is linked within the guidelines and shared, but I will make sure that that is easily available as well, where it shows the conversion rate of like volunteer hours with a numeric dollar amount that it equates to, which there's a formal number for that for like the state of Ohio. So that is a link that will be available and I'll make sure to highlight. But yes, volunteer hours is an in-kind donation that should be listed in your budget and is a eligible in-kind thing to list. Anything else around matching amounts? Okay, I'm going to move on to project income and expenses. So this is an example of the project income and expense section that you will see in your final report. This is exactly what it will look like. This is what you will see when you log in. This step must be completed whether you are completing the full final report or if you're completing the report out form. Either way, this section will populate for you. In your 2026 application, you completed a budget, which you can reference in your application through the SMA online reporting system. In the final report, we are looking for you to confirm some basic facts and information that we need to approve your grant payment. We hope that you'll find the streamlined process easier to navigate. Those of you who are returning project support grantees may notice that it looks a little bit different. You will not find a project or income or expense table within the final report. However, you will be asked to upload your budget in the support materials section, which I will point out to you shortly. Up here, you'll note that, working on a glitch, but it should populate your project in your budgeted project income and expense, and then also the CAC grant amount that was granted will populate there. In number 1, please list your total project income. So this should include your matching funds. So it should be at least twice the amount of your CAC grant. In this example, the grant amount is $6,000. So with matching income, my total income should at least be $12,000. It can certainly be more than $12,000, but it should not be less than $12,000. Okay, I'm going to move on to expenses. Number 3 will ask for your total project expenses, and this is similar to your income. It should equal at least twice the amount of your grant. As a CAC project support grant, grants cannot be more than half of the total project expenses. Again, in this example, my grant award is $6,000, so my expenses should total at least $12,000 to receive the full grant amount. So yeah, in this case, but if it equals less than the double the amount of your grant, you will not receive the full grant reimbursement. We will reimburse up to what we are able to. So if your expenses are not double, we will have to reduce the grant amount to make sure that that is not exceeding half of your total project expenses. Moving on. The final section of the final report will include your support materials. And here's where we will ask you to upload your project budget. This should not be your projected budget, but the actual final numbers. This does not need to be in any specific format, so please upload this budget in whatever format you are currently using to keep track of your project budget. The project location report and documentation of project will also be in this section. When you complete your final report, you will mark it as complete at the bottom of the page and then click submit on the left-hand side of the page. Okay. Some final, just miscellaneous items related to your project. The first is regarding changes to your project. The project outlined in your application was recommended by our panel and approved for funding by CAC's board. Funds from CAC may only be used to carry out that project. Okay, so that said, CAC understands that parts of your project may change during your planning process. Any changes to a project must be written and submitted to your grant manager for approval ahead of time, preferably as soon as possible. This might be things like the schedule or timing of your project, the budget, the scope of the public programming component, the arts and cultural content. Connecting with your grant manager ahead of time ensures that there aren't any surprises at the year end that might disqualify your project from receiving funding. Again, we're here to help, so please come to us with your questions or proposed changes. And lastly is a reminder about the panel comments. When you were notified that your grant was approved by our board, you were also provided with comments by our panelists. These comments are a great tool to see how your application tied to our funding criteria and for feedback from a diverse pool of arts and culture experts. We encourage you to look at the panel comments as you plan for your 2026 project or your next application. Panel comments can be found on CAC's website, and if you have any follow-up questions regarding panel comments, feel free to schedule time with your grant manager. Okay, with that, Thank you so much for joining us today.